Okay, so welcome to the Bookkeeping Made Simple podcast. My name's Donna. I'm the owner of Bookkeeping Made Simple. And today I'm excited that we have guests. We have Al and Tanya Welch of Welch Insurance Partners. They have some really interesting products that I wanted to talk about pertaining to life insurance. I know that's something that most people don't want to think about because they don't want to think about the end of their life, but it's a critical part of preparing your financial portfolio. And so why don't you tell me about the portion of life insurance that most people don't know about, but is absolutely what you guys do?
Okay, so I'll start with when people think of life insurance, they generally think of death insurance. So you have to
Mhm.
die in order for a beneficiary to receive that money. But most of us don't just die, and we need that money when we get sick, like cancer, heart attack, stroke, or end up in a coma from an accident. So we have products that contain living benefits, meaning that while you're living, you can access the money in your life insurance policy to help pay for those bills, those extra medical bills. Because a lot of times when you get really sick, you can't work, so then your income goes down.
Mhm.
So how do we replace our income while we're going through maybe chemo treatment or in a major car accident, or we can't perform to the six activities of daily living, like eating, bathing, dressing, toileting, and transferring, right? So we need some money coming in while we're going through these negative life events. It's a life insurance you don't have to die to use, truly.
And to kind of add on to that too is when a lot of people think of like living benefits, they're thinking that it's the cash value of a permanent life insurance policy. And this is really furthest from the truth. This is our living benefits are based on the face amount of a life insurance policy, not a cash value. So we could have this on a term policy or a permanent policy, regardless of whichever one it is. So the biggest part is it's not tied to a cash value. It is tied to a face value is
Okay.
a really big thing in there.
So do you need of course, a permanent policy, meaning what used to be called whole life? I know that's probably not a very um, precise term.
So whole life is a permanent policy. We hardly ever talk whole life. When we say permanent policies, we're talking about policies like whole life, universal, variables, IULs, those type of permanent policies, meaning like if you continue to pay out the premium, you have this policy.
Mhm.
That's kind of a permanent policy. A term policy is set for a certain amount of time, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, 30 years. And when that's done, it's done. You could get another one and start over. So that's really the biggest difference.
Okay. Um,
Can I
yeah,
tell you our
so
story?
yeah, go ahead. Absolutely.
So I've been in insurance for a long time and I never heard of living benefits, right? 2 years ago, I was diagnosed with stage 3 cancer. He had a job at the time, so that was our medical insurance, and he had a term policy through his employer, right? So he had two surgery. Well, in June of 2022, we found out that's when he was diagnosed. Two surgeries, started chemo, he was laid off from his job. We lost his medical
Oh.
insurance. We lost his term policy through his employer, meaning that he would have had to die while he was working there in order for me to receive money. But of course, we want our loved ones to live. So we do everything we can, regardless of the cost, um, to keep them alive. So because we didn't have living benefits, we didn't have a policy that we could access that money to keep paying our mortgage, our food, and the medical bills and things like that. So when I was on a quest really to find something that could help people in our situation. And I found living benefits. And I was like, this is amazing. How would that have helped us financially?
Yeah.
Because we can't take away the emotional stress, we can't take away the physical part of it, but we certainly can help with the financial part of it because that is a big deal when you're going through
Mhm.
something like cancer. A cancer diagnosis can devastate you financially. totally
Yeah.
devastate you. So
Yeah.
living benefits, with that access to that money, we could have kept paying about all of our bills while he was home recovering, while I was working part-time to take care of him. Right? So
How
it
did you
became
make
a,
it through? If you don't
well,
mind me asking, because that's kind of a personal question.
it is, but honestly, you go into a lot of debt.
You use your savings account, your
401ks.
401k, any money that you have saved. It all went towards my treatments. And the sad part about it was that I think I probably spent 3 months as far as the chemo surgeries and stuff like that. But this is going to be with me for the next 5 years before I don't have to see a doctor every 3 to 4 months. And the sad part about this is that every single year, our deductible starts over. So a lot of this is out of pocket, the cost to see my doctors. I know I have one blood test that's like $5,000 that I have to pay every 3 months. Every 3 months, it's
Health
out of
insurance
pocket.
doesn't cover this?
It's experimental
Oh,
and
okay.
too new for it to be for the health insurance to pay for it. But the reason I do it is because it they basically draw my blood, and then there's a marker that's in my blood. It will tell them if my cancer has come back.
Okay.
So I catch it earlier rather than later.
That's the purpose of the blood
That's
test,
the
truly,
purpose of the blood test,
which is important.
yeah, but it's
Oh,
kind of
yeah.
weird. Health insurance won't pay for this when it's could be cheaper up front than later on.
But we're not knocking health insurance,
Yeah.
right? We all need it.
No,
We need
no.
somebody to pay those doctors. We need somebody to pay the hospital bills. We need somebody that's picking up the majority of our medications. The problem is who's paying our mortgage? Who's paying for the
Exactly.
deductible pays? That deductible that starts over every year, these out-of-pocket tests that you have to pay for. That's where living benefits comes into play, right? You get a lump sum, you file a claim, and you get a lump sum payment, and then you can use it however you want, whether it's on your mortgage, whether it's for deductibles, whatever, it's yours, and it's tax too. You won't pay, you're not taxed on that amount.
Yeah, right. Just to let the viewers know, the premiums are not tax deductible. However, the payout, whether it's for living benefits or for death benefits, is not a taxable event. So yeah, you don't get to write off, $100 a month or $1,200 a year, whatever your premium is. But the payout, not having to worry about being taxed on that payout when you're at your worst moments is critical. I know I didn't know about living benefits till I met you guys, and I have been in life insurance before. I also know that a lot of people don't buy it because they don't think they're ever going to need it. It's a conversation I've had with my ex, Fabian. I was trying to get him to buy life insurance so that at least he'd have something to leave for the kids. And he doesn't want to buy it because he's afraid that he's like manifesting his own death. He doesn't even want to talk to anyone about it. Which I kind of understand, but I think as Americans, we're so used to living in the present because we're a young country with a young history. We don't have the thousands and thousands of years of history that like Europe does. Just I used to live in Germany, so I'm kind of thinking back to then when I would walk down the streets and they'd be like, "Oh yeah, Julius Caesar walked down the street." That's such a weird thing as an American,
Yeah.
But it does seem like a lot of people kind of wait until they, the saying is they wait to close the barn door after the horses are out.
Yes.
It's kind of
I
weird
think
that
it's a critical part of your retirement plan, personally.
it is. It's I think a lot of agents are making life insurance sound like it is just a death benefit because the industry is led that way. It could be a lack of education. It could be a lack of what carriers actually offered. whether they're captive or independent. There's a lot of factors that go into that. So it is really up to, I guess, every individual agent to actually study what and educate their clients on exactly what they're being offered and how it benefits them in case something happens.
Mhm.
We've always been proactive in everything that we do. If we would have known about living benefits, if an agent talked to us, that's what I would have had outside of
Right.
work. But I guess we're just kind of trapped in the will of this is what you do, this is the way it is. It's always supposed to be like that. And it takes certain individuals to step out and say, is there something better?
Yeah.
And that really doesn't happen until you meet someone like us, or you go through a traumatic lifetime event like we had. We were in that will. That's why I only
Yeah.
had my work insurance instead of thinking outside. But again, no one ever approached me. And I think one of the things that we try to do is talk about the power of the policy, not necessarily the end result of the policy. Like I see our policies as the death insurance as the cherry on top. If
Right.
you it makes it that far, but just in case anything else happens, we have this and this and this lined up. Or,
We
Right.
just truly want people to protect themselves because we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. We don't know what's going to happen today. And more
Yeah.
than not, you have a serious illness before you just die. And then
Yeah. I've told you guys about my parents that they
Mhm.
built their dream house on 21 acres in Western Kentucky, where they still live. And I don't think they were expecting mom to get sick. Dad has always been, he's retired military with everything that goes along with it. He is not happy till he's done his PT in the morning, physical training. And he's been a physical therapist and he's had a vast number of jobs. Um, but his main one is he's retired military. He retired as a lieutenant or a full bird colonel. Um, so he expected that he would basically have a stroke or an aneurysm or something and just drop dead. And I think mom thought the same thing, but she's developing dementia. And she doesn't always, she remembers her kids, but she doesn't remember what name goes to which kid. To be fair, there are 8 of us and all of our names start with D. And she knows who we are, but she doesn't necessarily know that I am not my youngest sister. Her name is Danielle, so our names are very similar. Um, and sometimes she kind of struggles with that. And she sometimes struggles with my nephews. My brother David's kids are the same age as my son, and they're also part Latino, so they look alike.
Mhm.
They're brown with brown eyes and not very tall. Well, his kids are tall, but Jared's not. And so she forgets. She's like, Jared. And then I'm like, my Jared, my son? No, no, David's. Oh, you mean Brian. Okay. So she's not too far gone yet, but she's also housebound, bedridden.
Mhm.
It seems like she only ever gets out of the house when I go out there because I make a point of it. Of
Yeah.
My best friend in high school was paraplegic. So I'm very used to dealing with wheelchairs. I was the only one that would take her anywhere too. So she got out of the house for my sister's wedding in October. She has not been out of the house since. We're going out there for Christmas, and I'm already telling my brother Dave and my husband Chris, we're going to have to get her out of the house. We need to take her out to see the Christmas lights, if nothing else, just to get her out of the house so that she has some quality of life. But they built this beautiful home that is 5 feet off the ground. She can get out onto the porch, but she can't get out of the house without assistance. They also built it so that all of the bathrooms with bathing facilities, so the showers and bathrooms, are upstairs. She can't go upstairs.
Oh.
And I've been laughing. I've been like, you guys wanted to age and die in this home, but you forgot about what goes into aging. And I
Yeah.
think some of it is we don't want to face it. As a society, we're very, we just keep death and aging and accidents and illness away from the public eye. So we don't see a lot of people who are sick. We don't see people who are dying of cancer. We don't see, it's all kept private, which in a lot of ways it should be. But then we forget that it's going to happen to us too.
No, speaking of that, Donna, it's like I was 48 when I was diagnosed. I have two brothers and a sister, and then my mom and dad and their parents. I am actually the first person in my family line that has had cancer. So I'm like, we kind of look at our past and say, well,
Or family.
our family's past and say, well, if they never had it, I don't need to worry about it. And what we're finding today is like just in what we do, we're paying with our living benefits, 8 living benefits policies, claims per death,
For a death claim.
per death
So
claim.
8 times we pay 8 claims, living benefits claims to 1 death policy. So that tells
Oh,
you,
wow. Yeah.
right? Like people are using these living benefits to keep themselves alive because they are going through these negative life events. And negative life events can be a lot of things. We talk about cancer, heart attack, stroke, things like that. Those are just the big 3. But there are many triggers for this living benefit
Yeah.
policy.
Dementia is a huge one. It doesn't have to be
Yes.
Alzheimer's, but dementia. As you
Mhm.
get older, it becomes more challenging to remember things.
And the carrier
So,
that we like working with, one of them, they actually have an Alzheimer's rider. So if that is a diagnosis, there could be a lump sum payment just for that. Like talking about your parents' house, right? I know they would probably want to put a bathroom downstairs, right? Now imagine you could file a claim because on a chronic or the critical illness side of it to actually have the money to put a bathroom downstairs for your mother.
right. And they
That's
actually do have the money, just by the way, because they're fortunate
yeah,
enough to be retired government employees, so they have pensions. But
yeah. So that's how
that
powerful it
benefit,
is.
yeah, that benefit is going away. Um, and I don't know of any private companies that offer pensions. I think it's strictly a government thing at this point, and I really do think those are going to go away, and we're going to be in charge of our own retirements. And I have been told this since I was in high school in the 80s. So, but like most
Yeah.
people, I was always like living in the moment and just trying to fix things
Mhm.
today and not worried about what's going to happen when I retire.
Yeah.
The other thing that I want to mention too with life insurance, people think that it's only for the healthy and it's very expensive. It's really not. It's very reasonable, right?
Mhm.
Especially the younger you are, and not necessarily have to get it when you're younger, but things happen to younger people too,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Even children, which is unfortunate because it's really sad and hurts my heart, especially when I hear about a child. But it is reality. So we've had
yeah.
people that not only buy it for themselves, they buy it for their children because what if something happens to their child? Do they want to be at work because they still have to pay the bills, or do they want to be at the hospital with their child, making sure that they're supporting them and being with them? And
So speaking of that, you showed me a flyer yesterday. Would you
Mhm.
share that story?
Which one? I share a lot of
It's
stories.
the
The
commercial.
truck
Oh,
wreck.
okay. So she's a single mother. She has 3 children, and her youngest son was in a serious car accident. And now in the hospital with traumatic brain injuries and an induced coma. So now they've created a GoFundMe to help support mom so she can be at the
Mhm.
hospital with her son, right? Because she doesn't want to work, she wants to be there with him. Had they have had a term life insurance policy or even permanent with living benefits, she could have had on him, she could have accessed that money, be there with him while he's in the hospital. Bills are being paid at home. while he's recovering. It's a big deal, right?
It is.
Why not rely on ourselves and protect ourselves, and be proactive in that instead of hoping that we can rely on other people?
On a GoFundMe account, which I think most GoFundMe accounts, unless you have a lot of friends, they probably average around $2,000 to $3,000, $5,000
Yeah.
if you're really lucky. So it's really not going to help. But going back to the traumatic brain injury is a critical injury rider that's built into our policies, along with the induced coma. And this number is going to be really big, especially for a child. But it makes math really simple. Imagine if that child had $1 million policy, face value $1 million, where they could have, that mother could have accessed up to 75% of that $1 million, which is up to $750,000, which no GoFundMe account is going to ever reach.
Well, they might, but chances are very unlikely.
Chances are, unless it goes viral, it won't.
Yeah. So now the mother isn't doing a GoFundMe account. She's not worried about her job. She's not stressing about paying bills. She is there with her son, trying to get her son the best treatment that she possibly can, even if it's out of state, out of country, or whatever. She has the financial means to make that happen.
It's a big deal.
So what if she doesn't end up using all of that? Does she have to take it as one lump sum, or?
Nope. They could say, let's use that same $750,000. They could say, she could say, you know what? I want $200,000 out of this. Her son still has a $800,000 life insurance policy.
Right. And then assuming, she could go back and say, we're still in this position. I need another $100,000 or whatever it is.
Yep.
Okay.
It's
that's
options. That's what it's trying to say.
One of those things that's close to my heart. So
yeah, you have options, right? You can take all that they've offered you. Really, they're accelerating that death benefit, or a portion, or none at all. But it's up to you. That's your options.
Yeah. And I think that's really important, that it's not up to the government. It's not up to some bureaucrat. It's
health insurance.
Your money.
It's up to you.
It is up to you.
Yeah. That wreck is kind of close to my heart because Chris he was hit on his bicycle in 2005, just before I met him. And he was also in an induced coma for 3 months. And very nearly lost his life. And then he developed heart failure. And I get to deal with that. So I think a lot of us think it's only going to happen when we're old. And like you said, it could happen anytime. We think these are one-offs. Certainly as the population is aging, it's becoming more frequent. But yeah, I think as young people, we think it'll never happen to us. We're 10 feet tall and bulletproof. But maybe it's because I came from a scouting family. The motto for the Boy Scouts and the Girl Scouts is be prepared. And someone asked Baden Powell, well, be prepared for what? He said, well, for anything, just be prepared. And this is one way to do it. Be prepared for your kid to be hit on his bicycle for nothing he did wrong. Just people not paying attention. This is one way to do it. Be prepared. You may develop dementia. Be prepared. You could develop cancer at 20. I just had a good friend of mine's son just passed away. He was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. I don't even remember what kind it was. And he battled it for 3 years and lost the battle. And he was the same age as my kids. So he was only, I don't think he was even 30 yet. So we
Cancer
keep
does
thinking
not
it.
discriminate.
Yeah, I think that's something we need to keep hammering is cancer doesn't discriminate based on age.
There's
Um,
I'm involved in an event and it's around cancer, where we live. And we go to this event every single year. Last year, there was, I want to say he was 2 and he had brain cancer, a 2-year-old.
yeah,
Was he
yeah.
2 or 1?
This too.
He was 2.
We had
Brain
that
cancer.
happen to a couple I know.
You, cancer doesn't care.
No,
Which is unfortunate.
Yeah.
It
no.
really does. I don't know. The reason I'm so passionate about this, Donna, truly, is there is something out there that will help you through these times, which is living benefits. I don't want anybody in the position that we've been in because nothing will keep you sicker than not knowing how you're
Been
gonna pay.
worrying about money. Yeah.
Absolutely, 100%, right? So even individuals, moms, dads, their children, people they know, their friends, their family, right? Like we want everyone to know about it. And business owners, like you're building up your business, right? You're creating this wonderful life for yourself. Let's protect that business, right? So it keeps going if something happens to you. It's for everyone.
Yeah.
So,
And it's not expensive. That was the other thing that really surprised me. I bought my first life insurance policy from my brother when he was getting started. He decided he doesn't like being an entrepreneur. He's an intrapreneur instead. He's really good at helping existing companies improve their processes, but he's not good at running his own business, and he knows it. And he's really awesome about it too. He's really clear. So I bought my first life insurance policy through him, just thinking, well, I'll have something to leave to my kids. And it was only like $50 a month. And now that's gone up because I've gotten older. And when I started talking to you guys, I was thinking it was going to be a very expensive policy, especially given my age.
you're not very
I'm well, I'm 57. I'm old enough to have an empty nest. I'll go ahead and admit it. I'm 57. I will probably work right up to lunchtime on the day of my funeral because I love what I do. So I was expecting it to be really expensive. And by the time I talked to you guys, I was expecting $150 might cover $250,000. And instead I got I'm still paying the 150 because I opted for that. But I got a much bigger insurance policy than I thought I would. And I kept the New York Life policy because they're pretty awesome too. And I do want to leave death benefits to my kids. But I think people are so strapped for funds that they don't even realize, they don't even ask. They think it's expensive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and I don't think it is. Yeah, you don't know if you don't ask. It could be $20 a month. And if you can't afford that,
So I think that's like one of the things that we like to do is because people do think it's expensive. I like to see like work with budgets is what I like to work with is budgets.
Yeah.
And go off of what is your budget? Let's see what your budget gets you instead of saying, hey, I want this amount. Because a budget and you wanting this amount could be completely two different things. So I do have a question for you. And I'm not sure how to ask it. So how was the experience for you working?
With you? It was awesome. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I did have to have the medical exam, but it was quick and easy. The nurse just came to my house and weighed me and measured my height. I'm actually an inch taller than I thought I was. It's kind of nice because Chris got measured for his heart transplant. He's an inch shorter than he thought he was. He's heartbroken. And they did a little bit of blood work, and then the results came back that for the same amount of money, I could afford a much bigger policy. Because I am in very good health, which is good because one of us needs to be.
We were excited for you too.
Yeah.
Just so you know that, right? Like we want to do what is best for you, what is best for our clients, not what is best for Al and Tanya. It's what's best for our clients. And so we were super excited for you. that we were able to help you in that way, right?
Yeah.
Just so you know,
And
though, most people though don't need the paramedics, but if they do, it could be great, right? Like in your experience.
Yeah, yeah. And I could have said, well, for what I have budgeted for this, I would rather have the reduced benefit. I could have gone with the smaller policy. Instead, I said, well, this is my budget. Let's stick with that.
Yeah.
And got about twice as much, I think, than I was
Yeah.
expecting. So it is, I mean, I know it's affordable. I just think a lot of people are scared of it, which is really kind of strange to me. We put insurance on our cars, we put insurance on our homes. We buy health insurance. Why are we not fully insuring ourselves? We're
the
making sure
thing
our
that
families are
pays for
taken
all
care
the
of.
other insurances.
This is how I look at that now that you mentioned that. So we don't buy car insurance just for a total loss of your vehicle. We don't buy homeowners just only when it burns to the ground, right? There's other benefits in there. So why are we buying life insurance that only pays if you die?
Right.
Why not get one that is, these things are included, not on top of it, doesn't raise the cost. These things, these living benefits are included in these policies. So you can live when you go through these negative life events, right? Or at least live less stressful or less stressed about your money.
Yeah.
Where's this, how's this going to be paid for?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. That you're not going to be evicted. You're not going to be homeless because you're sick, because of things outside of your. That's one of the things that really breaks my heart, honestly, is when I hear about people that they get sick. And I'm speaking, I've been a single mother most of my life.
Mhm.
And I've always been one check away from homelessness. Finally getting to the point where the business is doing well, I'm doing well financially. I can even bless the lives of others and hire people and get some help. But it wasn't always that way. I mean, there were times when I was digging the younger people are not going to understand this. I was digging coins out of my couch to
I've done
find
that.
enough money to get gas to get to work.
Yeah.
So, and now everything's on a card, so there's no option for that. But I was
Yeah.
like begging for money. I was pleading. My parents were giving me money just to try to get by. And if I or my kids had gotten sick, it would have been absolutely catastrophic.
Yeah.
So if I had
It-
known then, that I could have gotten a permanent policy, and it probably would have been $20 a month or some ridiculously small amount, I
Yeah.
would have bought it.
and we don't, a lot of times we don't have to give up everything. Like maybe you say I can't afford it. Maybe instead of drinking
Going to
Starbucks 5
I
days
know
a
we
week,
pick on Starbucks, don't we? That's
I
two
know.
avocado toast, millennials.
I love Starbucks, so I mean, don't get me wrong,
Yeah.
but I'm just saying there are ways to look at that. And that's another thing that we do, right? We look at all those things and say, where can you make a few small changes in order to do this to protect everything that you have?
Mhm.
Right.
So-
And
What-
and to be fair, those changes don't have to be cutting back. They could be expanding your income just a little bit.
Mhm.
So, or maybe going to your employer and asking if they can pay for this as a perk or
Yeah.
as a part of their compensation.
Yes,
Yeah.
there are many ways to do it, right? So many ways. So
I think that's one of the other things too, is like when we're looking at life insurance as a financial vehicle to fit certain needs, not just life insurance as a death benefit, and that's the only thing it needs. Kind of like what you was saying is like business owners can offer this to their employees as a perk to keep them there
Right.
instead of going to working for
Their
their competition
competition.
in
Yeah.
there. So,
Yeah.
so that's another way of using it, right? It's not just dying like with a permanent one. They're building a cash value that they could use for something later on down life.
Yeah. And honestly, I think more employers need to invest more in their employees. if you have good employees, they are worth their weight in gold.
Yes, I
If you
agree
have
with that.
bad employees, you need to fire them quick. But if you have good employees, they are absolutely worth their weight in gold. Um, and this life insurance is so inexpensive. Like I said, people think it's expensive. It's so weird to me.
Yeah, it's truly not. I mean, obviously, the younger you are, the cheaper it is. But
Yeah.
Well,
again,
yeah.
even if you're
And the
young,
healthier
something can
you
happen
are,
to you,
it's
right? You
Mhm.
just, oh, I just keep going back to our story. When he was diagnosed, it dropped us to our knees. It came out of nowhere. Had no
Mhm.
idea, had no clue. I was like, what the heck? What? Like, I almost couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So saying that we don't know when something's going to happen, we're living proof of that. We had no idea. We had no clue. There was no family history of it. He's been sick twice since I've been married to him in 20 years. Now it's maybe a cold or the flu. So to be
Mhm.
told you have stage 3 cancer was devastating
Yeah.
news. And then we're like, whatever it takes, whatever we
Yep.
have to do.
Yeah.
So
I think the other thing that we kind of left off on that was that I did have insurance through my work. That was the only life insurance that I had for myself was
Yeah.
through my job. And as soon as I was laid off, at that point, right then and there, I was on a 5-year waiting period to get life insurance again. So now, if something happens between when I could get it again, now in what, 23
3 years from now.
years from now, if something happens to me, it's going to affect my spouse and everyone else because I have nothing, it's all on them.
Mhm.
One of the other things we hear too is that I think the biggest thing is not a single mother, but a mother that doesn't work.
Mhm.
People believe they don't need life insurance. But as a
Oh, but
husband,
they do.
if my wife was going through something and I had a 9 to 5 job, do you think I'm going to be at my 9 to 5 job?
All the time.
Well, you're
I'm
not
going
because
to,
you're a good man. You're going to be at her side. Um,
exactly. But if I'm not working, I'm not creating an income. So that's another
right.
way where living benefits comes in to help with that.
Mhm.
Well,
Is
not only that, but non-working parents, if you will, or spouses. Let's say you have small
they actually
children,
make a lot of money.
right? What does that parent
Yeah.
actually do during? They do a lot.
Well, I
And
hate
so
the term, non-working. What we mean is
Yeah.
they're non-paid.
there you go.
I
I like
was
that.
I was fortunate enough to be a stay-at-home mother when my children were little, and man, it was the hardest job.
Oh, it is. I agree. I
And
know. But they're
I
worth a
mean, I'm
lot.
more flustered now, but then I was like running all over the place, trying to get everybody where they needed to be. And
Hmm.
when they were little, I was over in Germany when I had my third, and I was trying to adjust to a new culture, and I was trying to. Germans are very clean. They are particular about how their homes and apartments are. And my landlady lived right upstairs, so I was constantly having to clean to make sure that she was happy with us. Um, so I was, trying to do that, and then I had a 5-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a newborn. And fortunately, we were able to send the 5-year-old to the local kindergarten, so she was fluent in German by the time we left. Um, but the other two needed a lot of hands-on attention, and if you're a good parent, that's what you do. This was pre-internet. This was pre-satellite. This was uh, we only had so many VHS tapes, and I could only watch Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles so many times. So, so
I
I
get
was
it.
kind of their school teacher, even though they were going to school, I was still the kind of their school teacher. I was taking them out on trips. I was trying to make the most of our time over there. And even when we came back to the States, I was doing much the same thing. So I had to care for the kids. And then once I got divorced, I had to also work. And so I don't think at-home parents are given anywhere near enough credit for what they do.
I agree.
So that's why when we talk about it, because they do so much and they do contribute so much, it's important for them to look at it as well.
Yeah. That all that unpaid labor has a value.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So
We care about people. I think if you know us, you feel that. And we just want to
I'm
make sure
lucky
that
enough to know you, and I know that about you. So
we feel the same about you. And we just, however we can help, however we can educate, explain, show them, look at it. That's what we're here for, right?
yeah. I'm the same way. I have a lot of business owners that come to me, and usually they're just starting their business, but they have no idea what's available to them. They may know things like Chris is guaranteed issue only because he is actively in heart failure, and he probably always will be guaranteed issue only because the only way to get out of heart failure is to get a heart transplant. And those don't last very long, to be honest. They have an average of 12 years before the donor heart goes bad. And he's only 49. So,
And he's just,
he's just a baby.
yeah, really, truly, that's not that old.
No,
I mean,
I thought it was old when I was 20, but the older I get, the older old is.
That's right.
Yeah. I agree with that one.
Anyway, I don't know. I want to say though about you too, though. I feel it from you. I feel how you care about people. What you want to do is best, right? That's why I think that I just feel it from you. So I want you to know that I appreciate you too.
Yeah.
And the things that you do for people.
I appreciate that. You guys are great.
So
is there anything else I should be asking you about? I haven't done very many interviews because mostly this podcast is me talking to the camera. And it's usually about some subject that has either come up because I've had an issue with a client and I wanted to put that out there. This one is a very proactive one. And the other reason I really wanted to have you guys on is I feel like people don't think about protecting anything until after the event. So by example, I was going to buy some dash cams and tracking devices for our dump trucks, and I kept postponing it. And I thought, well, this $20 camera from Walmart is going to be just fine. But it didn't connect to the internet. I couldn't see what was going on. I didn't know where the truck was. And then Chris had a wreck. And then I was like, oh, we need all the safety devices. And now I'm going back going, what if I had had that before?
Yeah.
It didn't make a difference in our case, but what if I had been able to see in real time that, because it gives me alerts, that he had a wreck. How much faster could I have gotten to the hospital? I couldn't have prevented the wreck, but and the dash cam that we had did give us some protection, but this one streams to the internet. I can watch it from my office and make sure he's okay and verify where he is. And it was interesting to me that I didn't think it was important. And then he had the wreck, and then it was, oh, this is critical. So
life insurance is the same thing, right? We don't think about it until we need it. And so that's why we want to help educate, right?
It's too late.
Well, we don't want them to wait till it's too late. We want to make sure that they're taken care of because going back to, we don't know. I think you said, what other questions could you ask? So how could you find us? Right?
Yes, that's a great question. How can we find you, Tanya?
So you can go to our website, which contains a lot of good information. It's educational. It's www.welchinsurancepartners.com. You can also find us on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn, and occasionally TikTok. It's more of a little funner platform, but still. So there are many ways to connect with us, and you can request an appointment through our website. And really, we're here to educate and help and answer any questions that you may have.
Okay. And I'll put all of that in the description.
Okay, I
So,
think that
oh, there was
better.
something else that I think you've said to me before as part of your, what you leave to your children. You said to me
Mhm.
before, don't worry about leaving assets to your children,
No,
leave insurance.
Spend your money now, right? Because we always worry about saving money to leave to our children. How about spend the money that you earn and enjoy your life and leave the gift of life insurance to your
Yeah,
children?
I like that. I'm always trying to encourage my parents, please spend all of your money.
yeah,
We do the same thing.
they worked hard for it.
We're going to end up with the house and the land and you know, maybe they're just unusually good parents or we're unusually good kids, but we're like, spend the money, spend the money. You know, mom is sick, spend the money. Um, they're coming to the end of their lives.
Life.
Please spend the
They only
money.
have one too, right?
Yeah.
Let them live
Mhm.
it. The money that they
That's
have. If
exactly.
you want to leave something for your children, leave the gift of life insurance.
Yeah,
Fairly
it's
inexpensive. It's not hard to do.
they're
Super
kind of
simple.
the scrimp and save generation because they are both silent generation. They
Hmm.
both were born during World War II. Um, and I've always hated to watch dad just I used to ask him for money once in a while, especially as a teenager. And it wasn't until I was a little older that I noticed that he would pull money out of his wallet and he'd kind of say goodbye to it. Like a special little rub, you know, oh, I'm going to give you to Donna and I'm never going to see you again. I don't want to live my life like that. I mean, I want to be mindful of my finances and I certainly want to be planning ahead for retirement. I wish I had done that in my 20s and here I am in my late 50s with not what I was hoping for.
Well,
You know, and a lot of that's just due to life experience. Life happens and it lifed and I wasn't financially or educationally or in any way prepared for that.
It's
And now I'm
life,
kind of
life.
scrambling to catch up.
yeah.
Life
Life,
life,
life.
as Byron said yesterday.
Well, Donna, I think
Life
you hit on
happens.
one thing though when you said that you didn't start until you're basically right now 57. I think I read
Mhm.
somewhere where the average American doesn't really start saving for retirement until around the age 50, 53, somewhere in there. And it's really because we go to school, we get a job, we have a family, we raise kids, and money's going out and out and out. They're finally out of the house. And then we're like, oh, we need to do something for retirement.
Oh, now what?
Yep. So I
Yeah.
don't think you're alone in that.
You're not alone, but what we hope to do is help people understand that the earlier you start, the more amount of time you have, hopefully, because we never know what's going to happen. But still, you have a longer amount of time to accumulate that for your retirement. So
Yeah. Well, and
start
I
young.
feel like our generation, we were expecting the government to take care of that.
Yeah.
I remember
And
kind of being told that, well, of course, my dad retired military. I was expecting the government to fund my retirement. And even though I was kind of told in high school that that wouldn't be a thing, we also didn't see the government doing anything to change it. Now, since I'm divorced and not widowed, all of that unpaid labor that I put into helping my exes get started in life, I don't get any share of that. And we were kind of all counting on, you know, the old mentality of you go to school, you get a good job, you stay with the same employer for 50 years, you get your gold watch at the end, and then you get a pension. And that really was kind of what I grew up with. I was not taught to save. Even though my parents are silent generation, they're scrimpers and savers, they were also counting on pensions. And so I didn't ever learn to save money for retirement, specifically for retirement. I was taught to get out of debt, but not to save for retirement. And now I'm trying to teach my kids, oh, the first thing you do, you know, when you have a baby, I have a great grandchild coming next month. And I'm like,
oh,
okay, we're going to start a Roth IRA for this baby. And we may only be able to put $20 a month in it, but when that baby is ready to retire, they are going to be set.
Now that you say that, we also help create $1 million babies. And you can do that through the power of life insurance too,
Oh,
no.
awesome.
permanent policies.
That
So
is,
there are ways, right, to create
yeah,
that $1 million account for your brand new baby that you just had.
yeah. And well, I remember
Yes,
Gerber
right?
Life, advertising with the Gerber baby saying, you can buy term life insurance for your baby for, $5 a month or some stupid amount. And but they didn't go into what that is and what it means or how much that could be worth in the end. Just you can have life insurance on your kid if you call
Hmm.
this number. But it was term life. I don't
Mhm.
think it was whole. I don't think it was permanent. Um, and for some reason, that seems to not be a thing anymore. I haven't seen any ads for it anymore.
I don't think I have before.
Do you guys remember those ads?
I do.
I do. Um,
Okay. It's not just
they're,
me
they're
then.
No,
no,
not just
they
you.
still have the ads. The industry has changed a lot. And I don't want to say too much because I think we're trying to talk about a whole entire group. Kids policies are a little bit different
Oh, okay.
in the
That's
aspect
fair.
of what we do with them. Um, they're getting a permanent policy and say it is $20 a month or like whatever. There's some benefits that go on with that. So what I would say is let's have a different conversation about how we help kids
Hmm.
versus the general public.
Like with the term.
Right. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
it's kind of all I really know is my own experiences.
Hmm.
And since I've scrimped and saved, and I spent so many times when I had to choose between, well, when I first moved to Utah, I would go out on dates with men, very, very nice men. They were very generous, and they'd take me out to eat, and I would order a full meal, and then I would pretend like I was stuffed, and I'd take the food home, and I would use that to feed my children. I remember a time too that I was so poor. I went to McDonald's. I stole a bunch of ketchup packets and I used
Mhm.
that to make tomato soup just to give my kids something to eat. We were so broke. Um, if
But
I
by
had known
what you,
then what I know now, I would have,
yeah,
as soon as I got out of that, I would have started preparing them for the future. But I didn't know any better. Um,
with you saying that though, it resonates with me, right? You were doing everything you could to feed your children,
mhm.
regardless of what it
Yeah,
took, right? So
That's why kids policies are so important.
so important.
yeah.
But like in Al's case where he had that cancer, we were gonna do everything and anything
Hmm.
to keep him alive, just like you did that with tomato soup, right? And then the bills roll in.
And then the
And then,
bills roll in.
right? But regardless, we especially the people that we love, we just want to make sure that they are alive and we can keep on living with them and loving on them, right?
Yeah. And I'm kind of telling that anecdote because I want people to understand that one, none of us have always been rich. We're not rich people.
No.
We're we
We're
come from
meant
middle class families, um, and we've all known hardships. I've met a few people that don't understand that. Chris often says that he's baffled that I didn't travel Utah as much with my kids. And I was like, well, the choice was, ooh, do I feed the kids or do I go to Zion's?
Yeah.
Ooh, I think I'll stick with feeding the kids. They get kind of loud and ornery if you don't feed them.
They do.
And he's because he's been very wealthy, he doesn't understand that. He's having a hard time with that. The funny thing is he grew up kind of poor and but he wasn't the parent. When he had his
Mhm.
children, they had money. So and then unfortunately there's three horsemen of the apocalypse when it comes to financial health. One of them is divorce, one of them is bad business partners, one of them is sickness. And he hit all three. So he had business partners who stole from him, he got a divorce, and then he developed heart failure. So everything that he had is gone. Um, Seems like there should be a fourth one to make it a nice four horsemen of the apocalypse, but I don't know what the fourth one is. So
So he
everything he
did.
had, he kind of lost because all these things stacked up and he had every single one of them happen. And I really wonder, if he had known about living benefits, then we'd be prepared for the heart transplant. And as it is, it's all kind of resting. I mean, he's doing his best. He's still able to work. He's still able to go and do things. And he's absolutely wonderful about wanting to work. And he hates being sick in bed, which happens entirely too often. But his big drive is he's so scared of leaving me with nothing but burdens and debt, um,
I know the
which
feeling.
is very commendable about him. So,
Most people don't want to leave their family in a lot of debt, or the ones they love, right?
well,
They know what they want to leave behind. But even if he can work, right? He's got to earn extra money now to pay for the medical bills. Because I know most people don't have 100% of their medical bills paid. I don't know.
I
So
know
that's
he doesn't.
extra on top of what
Mhm.
you're already paying, right? So would that help out that way too? There's just so many reasons why this is such an amazing thing to know
Yeah.
about. I just deep in my soul believe in this.
It's one of the things
Because we've
that I like about
experienced it.
our website is really educational. It's nothing on there trying to sell you anything. If you want to know more information, you got to actually request the information from us
Mhm.
to contact you. Um, but there's videos and testimonials on there about people that have had living benefits, what they're going through. There's videos about, the $1 million babies for
Mhm.
kids, um, business owners. It's there,
Person, I mean, just a lot of
yeah, it's
information.
education.
Yeah.
You could get lost in the website just like learning and learning and learning. That is one of the things I love about our website. It's based on education, which is like with us, we like to educate.
Well, we believe
Mhm.
that knowledge is power.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do
Really.
too. That's why I'm such a fan of lifelong learning. Um, I returned to college at 50 and just graduated last year finally with a bachelor's
Congratulations.
and two master's degrees. So I guess I did okay. Um, yeah, like
But
I
the
said,
knowledge,
I feel like there's just this mental block, I guess, in a lot of people's minds that this is so expensive and it's so difficult. Unless they're already wealthy, then they already know. But a lot of people who are middle class or working class, I hate that term, uh, who are, maybe don't have, maybe they're living on the average $80,000 a year income and they're scrimping and saving and trying to get by. And I don't think they're able to prepare their children financially for life, or maybe they think they should just throw them in the deep end of the pool and hope they swim. But the younger you are, the easier it is. I keep telling my kids, time's on your side. It's not on my side anymore.
Yeah.
I have to be pretty aggressive and cut back quite a bit to have the money to retire on. Or I have to grow my business so big I can afford to sell it for what I need to retire on. One of the two. So, or
yeah,
both. Um, so I really want to kind of get people past this idea of you have to be rich to prepare your kids for, to have millions of dollars or to help your kids buy a house when they're young. You can actually do that reasonably priced if you do it right.
because they have the time. It's back to what
Yeah.
you just
The kids have the time. Mom and dad may not have the time, but they can get those vehicles ready for their kids.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And
absolutely.
and I
There's
do
just so
I,
much we could
I am
talk
going to
about.
want to talk to you about life insurance for my children and grandchildren. The
Yeah.
kids can afford their own, and my
We
grandson, who's about to be a father, really is going to be needing it.
we will have that conversation, Donna. One other thing I want
Absolutely.
to follow up with. Um, I do have a client, and they said, and this isn't for everybody, but it's a mother, a father, and two kids. And
Okay.
we started off with them as saying that we do a needs analysis and stuff like that, basically saying this is
Hmm.
how much insurance you need. Um, and it was only going to be for the mother and father. I really
Hmm.
believe kids need to be protected too in case something happens because to me, we're building a foundation, regardless of
Exactly.
who's ever in that house. We're building that foundation. They had a budget of $500, and for the two parents, and going through our needs analysis and stuff like that, I ended up doing basically the policies for the parents and starting policies for the kids for
Mhm.
less than what their budgeted amount was. I
Awesome.
think it came to like, I don't know.
You don't have to tell them the amount, but it was less
It
than what
was
they
less.
and
It
they
was
were
at
excited
least
about that because we were able to do it for them.
$100 less than what they did.
Oh,
So
that's awesome.
I'm not trying to maximize people's budget, but we like to work
Uh-huh.
with budget. Kind of like with you. This is what you want to
Yeah.
stay in. I don't like to go above that. It doesn't look good. I like to be at that budget or below for what makes sense for our clients and that.
Right.
And
I
we're
know in my
ecstatic. Like,
case, it came back that I could either have less, I could either budget less or I could pay the same amount and get more insurance. And I opted for the second, but it was really nice to know that you were going to stay within my budget. I wasn't going to have to brace myself for $1,000 a month bill. I didn't have to put aside $400 a month like I do for my other retirement vehicles.
mhm.
Um, yeah, it'll be pretty simple, you know.
We're
Yes.
But
not
again,
trying
I
to.
think it's a lot of education. A lot of people just don't know. Um, and I really want them to know because I want everybody that I come across to end up with a happy, healthy, successful life. And
Mm.
success could be whatever you want it to be. Success when I was a single mom meant I could stay home and work and still be with my kids and that I could homeschool them. Not everyone has that definition of success. That's okay. Other people may say their idea of success is having a $5 million a year business. It's up to them. And I think
Absolutely.
people get shoeholed in, but I really like that these products are coming out that are more aligned with what people actually need instead of trying to shoehorn the people into the products fitting the people. And they're, like I said, it is so affordable, you guys.
Yeah. One of the other things too, now that you mentioned that, not all carriers offer living benefits attached to it.
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to pay extra to get this added on and stuff, which starts inflating policies and stuff like that. So
Well, and if
that's
you're not
all.
working with a captive agent, then I know you guys are not captive, so you can shop all of the different providers and see which one's going to work best for
Mhm.
what that person needs. But like I said, I hadn't ever heard of living benefits before this year. And I was super excited about it. And part of it is because of Chris's heart condition that I was like, geez, if we had known about that before. And
Yeah.
by the time we found out, it was too late. But I don't want it to be too late for anybody.
We don't either.
We don't either.
So, everybody we talk to, share it, share with your family, share with your friends, share with the people that you love, right?
Mhm.
Have you ever heard of living benefits? We're happy to educate and help them and look at that and answer questions, right? It's just get it out there that it does exist and it can help you
Yeah,
and it does help you. And
yeah,
it's not hard to do and it's affordable.
yes, it is. I think we forget how much risk there is in life. Um, how do I want to put this? I especially during 2020, everyone was thinking, oh, I have to be safe. I have to be safe. And I was like, well, you can be safe on your couch and watch TV and have fast food delivered. And you're going to get fat if you do that. You have a risk of developing diabetes. You have a risk of most of my mother's health conditions really do have to do with her being sedentary for most of her life. If she'd been an athlete, I don't think she'd be in the position she's in. Um, you kind of choose your hard. You guys have heard me say that before.
Yep.
It's hard to make decisions about the future. It's hard to look at the future and say, you know what, the future might not be the great, glorious thing I really hope it is. I should prepare for that. But it's even harder to go through cancer, or, you know, we're, like I said, we're facing a heart transplant, or a catastrophic car accident,
Yeah.
and not have the money.
Yeah, money can be very stressful when you don't have it.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's better be prepared than unprepared.
Absolutely. So thank you guys. Is there anything you guys want to say in closing?
No, we just appreciate you. We appreciate everything you do. And whoever's listening out there, if you've not talked to Donna, please do. You're amazing. You are, and we appreciate you.
Oh,
So,
oh, you guys are too. I just attract that kind of people around me, I guess.
all right.
Because everybody I know is amazing, or they're not in my life. So, all right. Well, I'll go ahead and thank you for watching, and I'll end the video.